a little bit about what correlations are. I'm going to show you how to do correlations in R. I got this data from a statistician, Hans Rosling, and he collects data from all kinds of countries. Right now, the countries are just in number form because if there were any letters, it wouldn't let me do correlations. So here are all the countries, and then for each country, there's the average life expectancy for the people living in that country, the uh, the average yearly income. I also found some happiness data. So uh, some of the countries had people surveyed, and they said how happy they are. So the higher the happiness score, um, the more happy the people were. The ecological footprint, so the higher the ecological footprint, the more effect on the environment they're having. So more cars, more pollution. Murder, this is the number of people murdered out of, I think it's 100,000 per year. So countries with a high murder rate will have a high number here. Math scores, so how well people are doing um, on average at the 8th grade level. And then reading scores. All right, so let's download this data just like our other data. Let's download it as comma separated values. All right, and we're going to save it as country data sheet 1. All right. Okay, let's go into R. And then read this into, let's make a variable coral for correlations. All right, and we're going to read a CSV file. And then we're going to use file choose, and then parentheses. So we're going to choose the file that we need. Okay, so it's the country data, sheet 1 that we need. Open. All right. Just to make sure that R has read in this data, we're going to ask it to say, show us coral. And sure enough, all that data is now inputted into R. All right, so to do a correlation, we're going to use the function core, and then it's going to ask us what data set we're using. So coral. And we want to use pairwise. Here, I want to get this right. We want to use pairwise complete OBS. And what this will do is it will create a correlation for wherever there's data, even though there are lots of places where we don't have data. So like a lot of countries didn't have happiness scores, or eco footprint scores. For those countries, it will just ignore. All right, and then it's asking us what method we're using. So we're going to say method equals, and the type of correlation we're doing is with continuous data versus continuous data, and that's called a Pearson correlation. All right, so we have all of that in, and we hit return, and it gives us all of the correlations between all of these different factors. So the higher the correlation, the greater the relationship between these two factors. And if it's a negative relationship, it means as one factor goes up, the other factor goes down. So life expectancy has a 0.6 correlation with money. So rich countries have a higher life expectancy than poor countries. There's also a pretty high correlation with happiness. And there's even a higher correlation with eco footprint. So countries that are doing a lot of environmental damage have a high correlation with life expectancy. There's a negative correlation with murder. So as murders go up, life expectancy goes down. That makes sense. And there's moderate correlations with education. So math education and reading education. There's a higher correlation with reading education than math correlation. So reading is more important to predicting life expectancy than math is. And so you can look at all kinds of different relationships in this correlation matrix.